I'm hitting a few shots with the Ai200 and I'm just using it as it is off the rack to get a feel for what the standard weight in the back of the club is doing for me. And then I'm going to go 5 grams heavier and 5 grams lighter to see what the difference is. So in a custom fit scenario, we do have an option in these irons to have heavier and lighter weights in the back of the club head. Now, one theory is that the lighter weight in the head can allow you to create more speed through the ball, but that could mean that there's less mass in the head, so you get more deflection. And the other theory is that we put extra weight in the back of the head, just in this back section here, and I think you can also get different colours of them. But if you have more mass in the back of the head there, you might have more mass to go through the ball and reduce deflection, reduce your off-centre strikes, and get more consistent carry. But then the lighter one, you could get more speed for more carry. Let's have a whack and see what it does. So I've got my benchmark shots here on the screen. I've got most of the shots, apart from that one, on the surface of the green. That one's on the fringe. So I've got fairly consistent numbers there. 180 carry, spin's a bit low, first shot needs to come out. So in the Ai300, Ai200 and the Pro heads, we have a 14 gram weight as standard. I want to get some shots with a 9 gram weight in the back of this club head. And it's a bit fiddly to screw it in and out, but it's just like screwing in a shaft. And we're done. This could be something within these irons at the Callaway range that you're curious about. That definitely feels lighter straight away. It almost got away from me a little bit because I'm not quite used to it, but straight away, big difference in feel there. And it could be cool to get these weights in the back of the head in different colours as well. I can't remember what's available. It's like black, red and gold or something like that. That was awful struck. Now I would say I'm kind of used to having a bit more weight in my hands, so when I go for something a little bit too light, I get a bit more variance because I can throw it anywhere I like. When it's something heavier, it sort of like falls in line a little bit more because I'm kind of used to it a bit more, and like if you've got a sledgehammer, you can't waver it around as much as you can a badminton racket. Weird analogy. So I might get a little bit more spread in dispersion with this. But some golfers might benefit from the extra ball speed and extra swing speed that you can create with less weight in your hands. And it could be that I just need to have a few swings just to tune into it and just to get used to it, to benefit from the extra speed, just because I'm not as familiar with that thing, familiar with that weight. Misread. And yeah, I do have to kind of like wait to get the speed at the right time. If I rush it too much, I can rush really a lot. If I try and rush it too much with more weight in my hands, I can't rush it as much because I've got more weight to get back into it. Just a feeling. But once I've had a few balls with it and I just tune into the feeling that I need, I actually quite like it. Yeah, nice, okay. Just that little bit of tuning in. First shot, it sort of got away from me, and then you get used to it, how it needs to be treated, apart from thinning that. Definitely had more bad shots since going lighter in weight. But I can certainly create more speed. Now, if a golfer's got a fairly slow speed through the ball, but they're quite consistent and they're quite accurate as a golfer in general, they might benefit from having a lighter weight in the back of the head because they can add a bit of pace to that consistency. Someone who's maybe a bit longer and a bit more wild and maybe a bit faster wouldn't necessarily benefit from the lighter weight because that weight and that speed can escape from them a little bit. But that one's right next to the pin, so 4'6" putt. I'm using the Pro V1X because it was just already here. The Pro V1X spins a little bit more and I spin the ball a little bit low with this head. It's quite a nice ball to use this with. I'm just going to go one more because it's quite nice as a feeling. Yeah, I just have to wait a little bit to then get through the ball. I could get used to it. So let's get this weight out. And it might be that you'll be able to buy these weights aftermarket. Obviously, you might need to buy 7 of them if you've got 7 clubs in your golf bag. I don't know how readily available that sort of thing is, or whether you get them off, I don't know, eBay or Temu or something around there. That comes out. Sometimes with the weight here, the weight's in there, I've taken the screws out, but it might not fall out. I would just use the tool here to fish it out. Whoa, extra 10 grams. You could even actually, like, say you're not getting on with your longest iron that well, maybe you struggle with your 4 iron or struggle with your 5 iron, whatever your longest iron is, you might be able to get a lighter weight in just that iron. So instead of the standard 14, stick a 9 gram in there, just in your longest iron, just to make it a little bit easier. That could be a good idea. Again, it depends on your tendencies and it depends on what any problems in your bag are. If you're particularly struggling with it and you're thinking you need to buy a new club, it might be worth just buying one weight in that one club and clicking it in. 19 gram. Okay. I can already feel the extra mass in the head. I like it. I prefer the heavier feel. When I was playing tournament golf, I would build all my clubs to D5, which is a heavier swing weight than normal. You normally see clubs at D2, D3. So I'd put a bit more mass down the shaft, some lead powder down the shaft just to make the head feel heavier, or I'd put lead tape on the back of the head just to add a bit more mass to it. But it's nice in the modern day and age where I can just buy a different weight, click it in, and then it just looks a lot cleaner. And the extra mass is right behind impact. It's not in the shaft. So I kind of like that idea of it being on this bit. Oh, that feels so solid. Now, one theory as well is that you can use the weight in the club. If a club feels heavier, a club feels lighter, you can use that to change your left to right variance. And we'll see what the sort of patterns are in the groupings here. I'm not trying to hit it in a certain direction. I'm just swinging it towards the green. But if the club's heavier, it might be so heavy that you can't quite get it through, so you leave the face open a bit more. And in the lighter weight, it could be that because it's lighter, oh, I can throw that into the club more and I can shut the face down a bit easier. So there could be a little bit of directional manipulation with the change in weight as much as the speed and impact elements of it, he says with a big high draw on the screen. Oh. Now I caught that thin. I caught that a few grooves low, but I could almost feel it still launch off the face because there's a bit more mass behind that strike. I feel like I'm not going to vary as much with some more meat in that iron. I'm not swinging it the best today. Maybe not swinging it the best, and then I'm playing around with different weights and my swing can't quite get tuned in as good as normal. But we're all right. We're all right. Thin again. Again, it feels like a really powerful thin. Obviously, I don't want that strike to happen, but it did happen and it still went. Same shot, high draw. A couple more with this. Big draw. Oh, a little bit drop kicky, caught the ground a little bit early, but we're on the green. So let's have a look at the groupings and see what's happening. So club wise, ball data, club data. So a quick look at the club data. So this is what the club head's doing itself. Efficiency wise, quite similar between all three. Head speed wise, I am progressively faster there. So the heavier one, a little bit slower. The lighter one, faster than that. It's a little bit faster with the standard shaft in there. So I've not got a massive boost in club head speed. I've not got a massive drop in club head speed with the heavier one. But my delivery is quite similar, 6 in to out on all three of them. And hitting down on the ball more on the standard one, not down on as much with the other two, interesting. But when we look at those dispersion rings at the top, the bigger ring is the lighter weight. I've got way more variance with the lighter weight in the head. So I've got the tightest dispersion with the standard weight in the head. It's got a nice small ring here, then slightly bigger with the heavier weight in the head. I didn't strike the heavier weight as cleanly, but I still maintained a lot more from it. And I didn't really gain or lose anything in terms of distance. We've got 181 against 180 standard to heavier. With the lighter one, I didn't quite get it as far, even though I swung it slightly faster. Spin about the same with all three, slightly higher on the lighter one. But the peak height, so the highest point the ball reaches with the standard one was 100 feet. And then we've got 97 feet with the heavier and the lighter. So the peak height didn't change that much at all. The amount of draw spin was higher on the heavier one, which in theory shouldn't happen, and less on the lighter one. So the side spin is progressive with the weight in the opposite way I actually thought it would. And then the angle the ball comes in at, the steepness of that angle there, is the same with heavier and lighter. We've got 41.8 against 41.9. And then it was actually a little bit steeper with the standard weight in the head. at 42.7. And with the carry yardages not changing much, I think it's very much a feel thing and a player specific element of this. I haven't like seen one that's like massively better. I feel like the standard weight is the standard weight for a reason, because most people aren't going to need to go away from it that much. It's just if you have history of benefiting from a heavier club, if you have a history of benefiting from a lighter club, and you want to change that feel up a little bit, we're not going to escape too much away from standard. For me, the lighter weight had more spreads, the heavier weight had a little bit more spread again than the standard. The standard is the standard for good reason. But again, like you could put a lighter weight in your longest club if you're struggling with that club and you need a little bit more help to get it through the ball. You could put a heavier one in your pitching wedge if your pitching wedge just tends to go off to the left or like go off in funny directions, and just give it a bit more mass and a bit more meat to stop it from twisting as much and make it a little bit more reliable. I'd say once you change the weight, straight away you're not gonna necessarily see the benefits, but you're going to gradually get used to it, and then you'll get your timing and your swing to get through to the target. You'll get your timing tuned into that weight, tuned into that feel of the shaft. But have you played around with heavier weights? Have you played around with swing weight? Have you played around with lead tape, anything like that? Have you messed about in the past? Because with these clubs you can get different weights aftermarket, click it in, try it, click it out, go back, mess around a little bit more. I kind of like that because you don't ruin the aesthetics of the club. When I used to put lead tape on the club a lot, it doesn't really look that pretty, but it makes it sort of look like you know what you're doing when you've done it, if you get what I mean.